If I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a house.
I would buy you a house.
And if I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you some art.
a Picasso or a Garfunkel.
If I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
I'd be rich.
My goal in starting the Pan Mass Challenge was, firstly, that my life needed to matter. I wanted to keep my mother's memory alive, and I wanted to see if there were people out there like me who were feeling a need to give back. My name is Billy Starr, and I founded the Pan Mass Challenge when I was 29. I'm the second son of Betty Finkel Starr. She was born and raised in a luxurious apartment in the Park Avenue area. Unfortunately, her dad lost his money in the stock market.
She and my grandmother had nowhere to go really except to move into a maid quarters of one of her sisters.
Her parents could not afford to send her to college.
My grandfather went to Harvard, my grandmother went to University of Vermont, as did all her sisters, and they had only one child, my mother, and she couldn't afford to go to college.
She went to work.
That's a pretty staggering reversal for a family.
Betty Finkel was beautiful. She was a model for the Powers Agency until she met my father, Milton Starr, and then she became my mom. My early memories of my mother are this. Every time my brother and I came home from school, she was always there with a smile and a hug. Life was easy.
In Billy's eyes, his mom was perfect, and he had the perfect childhood.
I describe my childhood as idyllic.
I think she had such a rough and unstable childhood, emotionally and materially, that I think it was remarkable how truly stable the home she created was.
My mother definitely instilled a sense of giving back. In working with disabled veterans, she demonstrated that it wasn't always pretty or easy. They came to love my mother, this beautiful angel in their midst.
Our house filled up with these gifts the soldiers would make for my mother. Portraits, ashtrays, all things made with brushes in their teeth and utensils in their teeth. It was very moving. Billy was a very willful kid. At an early age, he knew what he wanted to do, and if he didn't want to do it, there was hell to pay.
I would describe myself as confident, perhaps cocky.
There was a gang that terrorized the neighborhood that stole his baseball cards.
And I went home crying.
And I went down in the field to try and get him back.
11 of them against 4 of us. And my brother stood there toe-to-toe.
We got the shit kicked out of us.
My brother stood up for me. We lost, but he stood up for me. As I grew older, my mother let me be who I was going to be. I was a drifty liberal arts kid who was about to embark upon a climbing trip to Nepal when everything changed. It all seemed pretty easy until the day in which my mother became ill.
My mother became ill with cancer right as he was graduating college, and it kind of derailed him for a while.
My dad and I went to the hospital 3 times a day. It shrunk my world. I suddenly did not feel that the world was my oyster, and I stayed closer to home. After my mother died, our family unit changed dramatically.
Personally, he was foundering a little.
I drove a truck, I went back to school, I got a master's degree.
I don't think he knew what he wanted.
None of it was really soothing my soul and making me feel like this is a calling.
He wanted to take and do something to sort of make a gesture on behalf of my mother, on behalf of our other family members who died of cancer.
I started the Pan Mass Challenge because I needed to make some sense of my life and because of the loss created when my mother died. It was a bike-a-thon, and the idea was to raise money for the Jimmy Fund and the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute.
I supported Billy all the way. I kept saying, this is great, but I never quite saw where it was going. Everyone thought the Pan Mass Challenge in the beginning was a terrific idea, but we didn't view it as necessarily a big idea. It was a grown-up equivalent of the lemonade stands we'd do as kids for charity.
People closer to me were saying, you know, good for you, but grow up, get a job. And in that moment alone, whether it's my nature, I didn't like being told what to do, I said, I'll show you. I can make this big.
I don't think anybody, including Billy, could have imagined the PMC was going to get where it got today. But he, more than anyone, saw the notion that this could grow, that this was tapping in, that everybody had been touched by cancer.
I think in creating the Pan Mass Challenge, I was able to recreate this dream of people I love in my world on a regular basis. And in essence, I was recreating the security blanket of my family.